Oh, no.
Are we going live too on YouTube at the same time, or are we just going to record it?
Just recording it.
Okay, great. So we don't have a quorum yet, but for the presentation, we don't need a quorum. This is the annual presentation of this. Oh, I got to share my screen. Thanks everyone for attending. This evening, we're going to go through the Southborough Community Preservation Act public hearing for June 21st, 2022. Sorry. As an overview of what we're going to be reviewing today, and if throughout this presentation there are questions or whatnot for people attending, please feel free to raise your hand, and Betsy, if you can move them over or stop me, because I can't see with while I'm presenting if someone raises their hand. So as an overview, we're going to go through the Community Preservation Committee membership. We're going to review the history of the Southborough Community Preservation Act, the CPA. We're going to touch high level on the budget that we currently have, a summary of approved projects, the application process, questions, and then discussion. So getting right into it, the Community Preservation Committee is made up of multiple members from the community. I myself am the chair, Andrew Mills, representing Planning Board. We have Ben Smith from Conservation. On the Recreation side, Jen Hansen. Historical is Ann Fan. Anna, how do I say your last name?
It's Pfaff.
Pfaff. Ann Pfaff. Sorry about that. We also have two at-large members, Mark Murphy and David Joyner. And then Open Space is currently an open position, no pun intended. Housing Authority and Shopsy. So where you see the named board or other group from the town, those are designated spots. So those individuals have to come from either those committees or boards. And only the at-large could be anyone within the community who could apply to be a member. So what is the Community Preservation Act? So the CPA is a smart growth tool that helps communities preserve open space, historic sites, and create community housing and develop outdoor recreation facilities. CPA also helps strengthen the state and local economies by expanding housing opportunities and construction jobs for the Commonwealth's workforce by supporting the tourism industry throughout preservation of the Commonwealth's historic and natural resources. So this is, why the reasoning behind the act. There are multiple, lots of towns within the state that have adopted the CPA. The history of the Southborough CPA, voters passed the 1% CPA surcharge back in May of 2003. Once that got passed, we actually started collecting revenue in July of 2003. Then the Community Preservation Committee, the CPC, was approved and created in 2004. And the first projects approved at town meeting in 2005. So what are the obligations of the Community Preservation Committee? One is to develop a CPA plan for the town of Southborough, which was done a long time ago. And we will be looking to update that in the near future. Two is create an application criteria process for project funding, which we've review and go through annually. And I think we have put forth an article ever since that 2004 or 2005 first project. Review and make project recommendations for town meeting. Again, we review projects to see if they meet the CPA legislation. if what the need is for the town, and if we have the budget to do it, and then also what the what the support is within the town by other groups, specifically, usually what the project is related to, and then make a recommendation to the town to see if the town would approve it. So we don't ever approve projects per se on our own. They all go to town meeting. So, and then the last piece is to hold an annual public forum and review, exactly what we're doing tonight. This is the annual public forum to go over what the CPA is, how it works, different projects that we've done, and the application process. So how much does it cost me? This is a slide we put in a couple of years ago because there were, constant questions from people, how much is this surcharge? What is it really costing us? So for fiscal year 2022, is about $96.05 for the average home. And how that's derived is from the surcharge is based off of the assessed value of a home. So we're looking at the average assessed value of a home in the town in Southborough, $690,000. For how the surcharge is calculated, they subtract the first 100,000 as an exemption, so that gets down to 590,027, and then they apply the tax rate, which is $16.28 per thousand, which gets to $9,605 is the overall tax rate for that home, and then it's 1% on the tax rate. So it works out to about $96.05 for the average home. And there is, in certain cases, exemptions for seniors and low income residents. And for that, you'd have to see the town assessor's website. So the annual budgeting requirements and the buckets. I must say, when I first started with the CPC, it took a while to understand the different bucketing, or how the funds come in and where they get appropriated. And I think we've done a good job of narrowing it down to something much more palatable for everyone to digest. So basically, there's the 10% of all the revenue that comes in needs to be split up and go into the different buckets. So 10% has to go to open space bucket to begin with, historic preservation, and community housing. Those are the three set-asides that were originally set up. And then we also have the opportunity to set aside 5% for administration funds. Those are used typically for admin support. There could be projects that aren't ready to come forth to town meeting that might need $1,000 or a couple $1,000 here or there to see if it could actually become a project. And if it was well supported by both the CPC and other entities within the town that they want to see go forward, we could use that money, some of that money, to get a project to the point where we could present it to town meeting. And then the remaining of the funds that are taken in go to the undesignated reserve fund. So recreation doesn't have a quote bucket to fund from, but when we do fund the recreation projects, it comes out from the undesignated reserve. So as of July 1st, 2022, the fund balance in the buckets, open space reserve is $159,033. The housing reserve is $472,050. Sorry, I left the zero off. Historic reserve is currently depleted. That is because we have a number of historic projects currently out there that we're funding and are bonded, such as the Burnett House and also the library, and soon to be starting to fund the townhouse as well. The budget is a reserve, which all projects could be funded from, is $400,928, which gives the total CPA balance currently at $938,633. $63. So funds collected since Southborough approved the CPA. The local surcharge, so what residents have paid in over the course of the time since we started, is about almost $5 million. The state match has been, early on, for those who've been following it, it used to be 100%, but as more communities took on the CPC, the state match has fallen a bit and adjusted as the state has looked for surplus funds along the way to help get that match up as high as possible, as fiscally responsible, I should say. So the state match has been just over $2 million for a total of $7,080,000 that we've taken in to the CPC. Then last fall in 2022, we received 43, almost 44% state match for the fiscal year 2021 surcharge, which is still, a great return on our money when you look at the surcharge across the board. I'd take that. So examples of approved projects. We used to have them all listed out, and it made it very complicated or a very congested slide. So we trimmed it down a bit. But here, some of the projects that have been out there. I won't read through all of them, but there are certainly, some great ones on here, like the library restoration. We'll see some pictures of that later. The Fayetteville playground, the tennis courts that we've done in town as well. The Halloran property, open space GIS data layer was another one that we've done. The funding the affordable housing trust, preservation of Chestnut Hill Farm, the Burnett House. There's been a lot of great projects out there that we've been able to fund. The creation of the Triangle Park on the south side of town, and another one to the preservation of historic documents in the town clerk's office has been one that's occurred through multiple phases, but has been very helpful to preserve the records of the town. So the application process. To obtain the application form, you should go to the Community Preservation Committee, Southborough, Mass.com, and you can obtain the application. Understand that project funding criteria is defined in the application and the CPA legislation. If you complete and submit the application by the August deadline, which is August 26th, the plan is then applicants would present the project to the CPC in the September and October timeframes, where they'd be reviewed, tweaked a bit, like fine-tuned. CPC members would ask questions, go over the application with the applicant before a vote is made whether or not to recommend a project to town meeting. And then, obviously answer any related project questions at town meeting would be a required of the applicant. So this is an older application, it was in the slide presentation. The main points that I want to highlight in here, sorry, wrong button, are just some key areas of the application, such as the CPA funding requested, the total cost of the project. This is important so that we can show that, hey, In most cases, CPC is not the only funding source for a project. Other funding sources could be even, volunteer hours people are putting into do work on a project, or other donations they have, or in some cases they have contributions from other charities that could offset the cost of the project. That makes it more palatable when you go to town meeting and say, hey, yes, the CPC might be funding X%, but the rest is being funded outside. So the town knows that they're getting more out of a project than them just funding it themselves. Cpa category is also another key one to highlight, what different categories your project might be associated with. So some of them could hit multiple areas. Typically, I think historic preservation, and open space recreation. You try to look if it can hit multiple groups, that helps. And it's also for record keeping for the state too, where the money is being spent across all the different communities. Eligibility, define how the project meets the CPA requirements. This is a key one, so that not only the CPC is looking at the application and see how it fits, but when an applicant is actually filling it out, they know how it meets the CPA criteria. When this is a critical chart, as it says, a project is only eligible for a CPA funds if they fit in a yes box below. So for like open space, they can acquire, create, preserve, and rehabilitate or restore open space. They can't support it. So it's not like ongoing maintenance funds could be used to keep mowing a certain field every year. That would not meet the criteria. Historic preservation, same thing, to acquire historic items or property or something like that. That can be, CPC funds could be used there. You can't create anything as historic. You could preserve it. You're not allowed to support it, again, like maintenance. And we can rehabilitate and restore. Recreation, again, you could acquire, you could create. If you're clearing a field to create recreation, that could be that could meet the requirement. You could preserve it and you could rehabilitate, but you couldn't support. So again, similar to like the easiest example is like mowing the fields or something like that. And then housing, this actually meets all the different areas. So you could acquire, create, preserve, support, and even rehabilitate or restore if it was created with CPA funds. So there have been some homes in town that the CPC is used to purchase and create affordable housing within Southborough. If the town still owns those as like a rental, if they wanted to rehabilitate and restore them, the funds could be used for that. Funding. What funding sources are available? Again, this is what I kind of talked about earlier. We would like to know where funding is going to be provided for the project beyond the CPC. Again, whether it's in-kind donations, volunteer hours, describe any attempts for funding of the project. This could be grants outside, state grants or federal grants as well, that could help support or fund a project. Maintenance. If ongoing maintenance is required, who will be responsible and how will it be funded? Please attach the detailed 5-year budget. We added this, I think, early on when we were doing the application process, because there were some projects that we found that even though it was approved by everyone in the selectmen even, or select board even, were in favor of certain projects that might not have gone to, say, DPW to say, oh, we don't have the budget to mow the lawn or the field or keep this property up. So that's part of the reason why this was included, so that we have a holistic view, and the town has a holistic view of what it's going to be to create or to maintain, in case we make a new project, park in the town or field or something like that, that the total costs have been thought of going forward as well. All town meeting approval. So this is applicants are required to actually be at town meeting to help talk about the project and ask questions and review the project at town meeting. Historic project funding requirements. This is a great tool as well to figure out if a project meets the historic projects funding requirements. Basically, if you follow the different boxes and ask the question if it meets a certain criteria, if you keep going to yes, then it meets the criteria and could be appropriate for CPC funds going forward. But again, a great tool for an applicant to use to determine, and we use it as well when discussing projects, if a historic project or applicant meets the criteria. So some pictures of projects funded by the CPA in Southborough. This is, I think this was last year, this was taken, the new steps in front of the library. I think most people noticed that the facade of the historic exterior of the building was restored in the roof. And here you can see part of the Southborough signage going up on front of the library. And here is the completed landscaping. Wasn't all done yet, but a big improvement with the steps. Before the project actually kicked off, they had closed off the front of the building to not allow people in there because the steps were no longer safe for everyone to use. The Mooney Field lights. These, if you've been on the south side of town and you have a young child in baseball, this has been a big project and very well supported by the baseball community to have lights at Mooney Field. We also funded the lights on the tennis courts at Neary. Chestnut Hill Farm, this is one of the biggest projects I would say we funded, which was basically the development rights for Chestnut Hill Farm, so that land can not be developed. And then the preservation restriction on 84 Main Street, aka the Burnett House. The Halloran property for open space. You can see some people enjoying the great outdoors. This is a Boy Scout Eagle project that was over at Neary to put in the softball, volleyball net and volleyball court. Sorry about that. Still getting over COVID. And then the South Union School playground. This was put in some few years back and gets a lot of activity on the south side of town. Is I believe the only playground not on, say, a school property, so it could be used all day on the south side of town. And here are two more children enjoying the playground of South Union School. So any questions on the presentation? Any hands, Betsy? I couldn't hear you. Were you on mute?
I don't see any hands.
So,
Yep.
I mean, again, this is our plea out to everyone. So, within the town, town departments, come with your ideas for open space, historical, community housing, recreation for next, this next town meeting, which would, won't be for a while, but it comes up fast once that deadline for the application process again being August 26th. Looking to get applications in and we can start reviewing, and then we try to get the vote complete by December so we can get it on the town warrant. With how the town warrant has been, or the town meeting has been moved up in the past to accommodate Saturdays, it has made it a challenge in the past. Granted, COVID made it a little easier when things had to get bumped out. But the earlier we get applications in and can start reviewing them, the better. And the last piece I had really is the webpage at the town site, which is the Community Preservation Committee, Southborough, Mass, at southborough.com, where an application can be acquired. So did Mark ever?
Yeah, Mark is here.
Oh,
And I
so we
think-
have a quorum.
And I think Freddie has a question. Hold
Freddie
on.
is- Okay,
There we go.
Hi, hi, everyone. I just wanted to mention that the application will be on the town's website tomorrow. It's not there right now. There might be an old one up there, which is similar, but the new one should be up tomorrow morning. In case you go looking for it as soon as you get off this meeting, the full new one will be tomorrow.
excellent. Paul Desmond, can we bring Paul over, Betsy?
Sure. Let's see, where are you, Paul? Huh. I do not see him.
Are you in the
Wait,
attendance?
wait, sorry. Never mind.
That's no problem.
Okay.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for promoting me. So this was very helpful. I'm here representing the Regional School Committee, and we are interested in making an application. If you remember at the most recent town meeting, we're just launching a project to refurbish the football field at the high school, both the main football field and the JV field, as well as the tennis courts. So Andrew, I think you and I have talked about this briefly in the past. Given the high school is in Northborough, I'm not sure whether we're still eligible. So,
Yeah, I have looked a little bit into that, and that still can be done. The challenge is going to be when it comes to the use of, is it going to be a turf field?
yeah, it's turf football field and the JV football field.
Yeah, so there was an update to the regulations back in was it 2012, where they made some changes, and in 2012 they actually stopped allowing CPC funds to be used for turf fields, and Freddie confirmed that with me again, with the coalition that we pay dues into that helps oversee the CPC funds across all the different communities. So I know in the past, there have been some that were done. There's probably before the 2012 change that happened, but it would not be allowed going forward. Now, if it was other types of fields or something like that, grass is possible. But
Well, the tennis courts is part of it. There's, I think, 9 tennis courts. So,
yeah, well, that would fit.
okay. And there's also, we're talking about an amphitheater that we want to put on the grounds for, various events. So maybe that would qualify as well. I'm not sure. But
Yeah, we'd have to look at that. Sounds great. That sounds like a great project.
It was actually the enabling legislation that was amended. It wasn't even regulation. So it was specifically addressed in the legislation about the turf fields. So that, but yeah, there's still some creativity that's allowable to not fund the turf fields, but the other things you mentioned, that's a possibility.
Okay,
Yeah, so I just wanted to note, so my husband, Andrew, is the chair of the advisory committee. And he has been thinking about this project and actually did quite a bit of research. And he says that while it can't be used on turf, it can be used on like ancillary things that support the turf. Maybe if don't quote me, but maybe if that's the engineering or, if other parts of the project, it just can't be the actual physical turf. So I think there might be some possibilities, and I'd be happy to, ask him to share more details on his research for that.
that'd be great. Yeah.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, Freddie.
So, hi, everyone. It's Freddie. I have looked into this a bit, and Annie is correct that some of the additional work to put a turf field in can be funded with CPA, but it's complicated because the goal is not to fund artificial turf fields. But I was also going to say, isn't this in Northborough going to be split between the two towns, the cost? So, I mean, you can look at what Southborough pays for out of CPA and what Northborough pays for is another way of looking at it. And also the allowed, like you said, some of the other things you're trying to do are, could be fundable. I wouldn't say, I don't know what your project is, so I won't say would be, but so there's ways not to get around it, but to satisfy the requirements and, work towards your goals. You're just going to have to be a little creative and talk. I think your go-to people to talk to though is the CPC, not other people who have done research, because they can present to the CPC, but the CPC is the one who has to make those decisions.
And Paul,
Okay.
what's the time frame that you guys are looking for?
Well, we have to present at both town meetings, Southborough and Northborough. So we're hoping to do it whenever the next one is. We've heard that there may be one in the fall, which I don't know how that's going to jive with your time frame. It sounds like it might be a challenge, but
yeah, that would be a big challenge on our side. If you teed it up in the fall and said, FYI, we're going to come to this is coming, and that might be a good way to get it on people's radar. Because I know in some cases on big projects like that, this is just me personally, if it's kind of had a dry run, brief FYI, this is what's coming, makes it smoother later on, and people aren't like, well, I've never heard of this, yada yada yada. So.
Yep. Well, we did that at the last meeting, briefly. That was a challenge too, because Paul Semino doesn't like to give you all that much time for something that's not technically on the warrant. So, but anyway, yeah, I hear you. And we just formed a committee that's going to be looking at communications and things like that, and just getting the word out to both towns. So hopefully by the time town meeting rolls around, people will know about it.
That's great.
Good.
So Andrew, can I just work with you on, making the application and making sure it meets your requirements? Because, I hear you, you don't want to fund turf, but it's correct. There's a whole bunch of stuff underneath the turf that costs a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think, well, what typically happens is you fill out the application. This would technically be a recreation one. So, you can work with me, and we can, partner with the coalition, sorry, to see what, to try to get it as tight as possible right off the bat. But then what normally happens, like I said, in the September, October timeframe, we fine tune it a little bit more, so it's ready to go.
Okay.
Town meeting later. So, yeah, so we'll just make sure that that new application is out there tomorrow, and you can download it and take a crack at it.
Sounds good.
Excellent. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me.
It was good to
Been
see you.
helpful.
Yeah,
Okay, take care.
you too. Any other questions from participants?
Nice job, Andrew.
Thank you, thank you. Let's see, so now we do have a quorum, so you know, we are technically in session now. Thanks for joining, Mark. And everyone, I'm not singling you out, just saying it because we were tight. We knew we were one member shy tonight, so we needed all 5 who could attend.
Can I jump in, Mark, Andrew?
Yes.
Ready? Why don't you call the meeting to order now that you have a quorum? The presentation's over and you can call the meeting to order. Might be a good thing to do.
Yeah, hold on one sec. I gotta. All right. So calling the meeting to order for the CPC Community Preservation Committee, Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. It's now 7:39. The meeting may be watched or may be participated in remotely with this meeting link, which is https://www.southboroughtown.com remote meetings. And let's see, the agenda we had was the call the meeting to order. We do the public information hearing, which we have completed. Went over the overview of the Community Preservation Act and the process to apply for CPA funds. And let's see, we also, so that's it from that side. So business of the CPC minutes. We had minutes, correct?
Yeah.
Let's see.
For the April 14th and May 19th minutes need to be approved.
Do we have a motion? The April 14th and May 19th.
Yes,
We have a motion for the April 14th meeting minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? I'm gonna go as I see you on my screen. Mark,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
and Andrew is a yes. All right, and do we have a motion for the May 19th minutes?
I have one question. Can we do that after the motion?
Yeah, during discussion, yep.
Okay.
Was there a motion though?
I'll move to have the minutes accepted as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, discussion, David?
Yeah, just a quick question. The last sentence on page 2 with respect to the St. Mark's Clock Tower project update. The last sentence says the entire tower was sounded 5 years ago. That could be just me misunderstanding it. I just didn't quite understand what that meant.
well, that was the terminology she used, and I think it was to find out if it was sound or not, meaning that it was structurally
Sound.
But
Okay.
I mean, I can totally change it if, you know.
That makes sense when you describe it that way. I just didn't know what that was referring to.
Yeah, that was her terminology, but I'll change it to make it.
Good point.
right. So we have motion, we had some discussions. Any other discussion? All right, I will go again as I see you on my screen. Mark,
Yes, as amended.
Ann,
Yes.
David,
Yes, as amended.
Ben,
Yes.
and Andrew is a yes. Unanimous. All right, so then, let's see. Freddie, you said Tim was here. He wanted to talk about the MOU for the tennis courts, pickleball.
Yeah, I emailed it to you, Andrew, you could bring up the MOU. There's a requirement before they start the project to discuss with the CPC what their process is, so we have a clue when they're going to start, when they're going to be submitting invoices. I think the MOU is pretty self-explanatory. And this gives everyone who's here an opportunity to see the type of format that an MOU is in. If your project gets approved at town meeting.
There we go. And can we move Tim over? Betsy?
Yes. Yep.
Hey, Tim,
Hey, everybody. How we doing?
doing well yourself?
Very
Good.
good.
So I was actually here just for the presentation, but I'm happy to talk about the MOU. I didn't see it was on the agenda, so I didn't think we were chatting about it, but if you want to do it, happy to.
Let's see. I just want to see if we have, so we have the budget, we have the warrant article, project summary. And when are you looking to kick it off?
So the date's still up in the air. We're on the pipeline of the company as they start with their summer work, just because we had to wait till town meeting. Obviously, we came in later in the game, so we don't have an official date yet. It's one of those things that they're going to let us know probably 1 to 2 weeks out when we can expect them on site. You know, it's going to change because of weather and everything like that. So we don't have an official date yet. But again, the goal is this summer to get it done by the end of the summer.
Great. So the general requirements are all right. So Freddie, you brought this up because so we have to sign this beforehand. So I can send it out to all the committee members. Do you think it's going to be in the next couple of weeks that this is going to happen, Tim, or?
No, I don't think so.
So if you go down to the bottom, Andrew, I believe it's just your signature and Tim's that's required. One of the reasons we just wanted to be sure that Tim, because we did this, the recreation chair and the representative to CPC was here when we went through this, so we needed to be sure it was acceptable, the final draft, and that Tim was going to sign it before he started. We heard you wanted to start July 1st, or be able to. And this meeting and signing this is what allows that to move forward. And then all we need to do is when you're going to start, give us a heads up, and like when you expect invoices to come. We'd like to know so we don't get an invoice when everyone's on vacation and you need it paid yesterday.
Mhm.
Which isn't you, but it's happened with other groups.
No, I'm sure that this is one of those simple, it's not like the lighting projects where there are multiple invoices. This should be just one final invoice of work completed. So we'll, us giving you the heads up of when it started is probably a 1 to 2 week notice of when we're going to get the invoice as well.
Yeah, this is just simple and it's, as a CPC tries to adhere to a process for every project, whether it's a multi-million-dollar project or a simple little Eagle Scout, which nothing's simple, but an Eagle Scout volleyball court. They're trying to be, have a standardized process.
Good.
So we just also wanted to be sure, because you weren't at the meeting when we finalized this, that you're okay with everything in it.
Yep. No, Jen was actually texting me throughout the meeting. So
I think we
was-
knew that, yeah.
adjunct attending.
Anyone on the CPC have any questions on it?
Tim, what kind of, do you get any indication that how popular pickleball is or will be? Or
It's exploding. It's massively popular.
is that,
Yeah, we have temporary lines at our building now at South Union on the top floor. They're packed in there, during the winter. They're packed in the morning and afternoons out at Neary with the temporary lines. So
no
it's
kidding.
growing and growing and growing.
Good to hear. Great.
All right. Let's see, did we vote last time for me to go ahead and sign this? I'm just wondering if, since it wasn't on the agenda, to actually
It was
vote.
approved at the last meeting before we sent it out to Tim
Okay.
by the CPC.
All right, good. All right, so then Tim, now knowing that you're good with it, I'll sign it and then you can sign it and we'll be good.
Yep. Sounds good.
Excellent. All right. Let's see, the only other thing that I had to discuss under, general CPC discussion, contract with Betsy. So I know we talked before about using, having Betsy fall under the general guidelines for what the town is doing, which is I think $50 per hour per meeting, and only per meeting during the meeting itself. So, and time that is spent afterwards creating notes or submitting to the town would be included in that. But when I read through the actual contract, that CPC doesn't fall under that stipulation for one of the entities for that. So I was inclined, because Betsy does more than just the meeting minutes. I know there's a lot of filing, the prep work with the applications to get them out to us and everything else. Follow up with the Community Preservation Coalition on things like that. I was more inclined to go with the $25 an hour rate that would be in line with her services. Is everyone comfortable with that for Betsy?
Certainly.
Betsy, are you comfortable with that?
I'm fine with that.
You're fine. So then we do
Betsy's
have to make a
comfortable, we're
vote.
comfortable.
What?
If Betsy's comfortable, we're comfortable.
So then we do need to vote on it though, to make sure that it goes in for so that the town will approve it. So is there a motion to make Betsy's contract $25 an hour for supporting the CPC?
So moved.
And second,
Second,
any discussion? All right, all those in favor, I'm gonna go as I see you on my screen. People moved around a little bit. Ben,
Yes.
and Mark,
Yes.
David,
yes.
Ann,
Yes.
and Andrew is a yes. All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Let's see, so with that said, there's nothing else on the agenda. Anyone, a motion to adjourn?
Before you adjourn, Andrew, one question.
Yes,
Do you think they're going to want approved minutes?
I think we could probably send draft minutes. And then just follow up with the approved ones. And I'm glad we didn't adjourn yet because I know we had to talk about a summer meeting too. So Betsy, if you can get the draft of the meeting minutes, they should be pretty easy from
Yeah.
today.
Okay,
And please just say that I went over the presentation. Don't.
no, I'm not gonna go into every little detail, don't worry.
Thank you. So there is an anticipation that there could be a fall town meeting, and there's some things we need to discuss because we didn't have our last meeting due to technical issues with the meeting room. So people's availability to meet in July. Sorry to ask that. I know we haven't done that in a really long time. But do people have availability in July?
Have a particular date in mind, Andrew?
Say the 14th.
That works for me.
I'm available.
I've got a conservation meeting that night.
Okay, so the 21st or the 13th. What if we did the 13th? I'm trying to stick in the middle of a week.
Wednesdays in general are not good for me.
Okay. Well, let's start with this. Are people available the week of the July 11th? Like no one's away on vacation.
I'm around.
Yes,
Yes.
around, yes, available.
Yep, I'm around.
So if we did maybe the 12th,
I'm fine with that.
That
Yes.
works.
That works for me.
Yes, that works.
all right. So let's shoot for July 12th.
Are these meetings now going to be in person starting in July? Or are they still going to have virtual meetings? Has anybody heard?
I have not heard, and I'm hoping we can still be virtual as I just got over COVID.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Hmm.
It seems like it's running rampant again. I don't know, Freddie, if you've heard anything.
I haven't heard what the selectmen are deciding, but I did hear that there was an 8th grade dinner or prom that might be like a super spreader. Everyone was coming down with it all day today. People were notifying each other.
Looks like Tim Davis has his hand raised. He might have some.
Oh, okay, hold on. Hold on. All right, here we go.
Well, there's a selectman here. You could ask Sam after Tim.
I was wondering if Sam was going to raise his hand, but Tim beat him.
To our understanding, the ability to go solely remote is expiring come July 1, coming down from the state, from what we've been informed. There is a way of doing it hybrid that, certain only 1 or 2 individuals could be, or a quorum could be in person, the rest could be hybrid on Zoom, everything like that. So I would encourage you to reach out to Vanessa for direction on that. But I know as far as the state goes, that's expiring on July.
All right.
Thank you.
Sam has his hand up.
Oh, sorry. Wait a minute. No, he's muted. Hold on. He's coming on. I don't know where he went.
I still show him as attendee.
Okay, I'm looking. All right, I don't know why he didn't. Okay, promote.
There we go. Hey, Sam.
Here we go. Hey, thanks. I'll echo what Tim said. The state legislature actually has, the Senate passed a bill to allow for extension of remote meetings through 2023. That feature is not in the House version of the legislation. Conference committee is working on it, so there's some chance before they dissolve at the end of this month that they will reach agreement on that. If they don't, Tim is correct. There is the ability for a remote meeting, if there's a quorum physically present, then other committee members can sign in via electronic connection as well as the public. So that's an option, but it raises the bar a little bit in terms of requiring that a quorum be present. So not clear what's going to happen, but there is some chance apparently that they'll extend the remote meeting capability, but no way to predict that at this point. So I'd say plan for in person and then maybe change as need be.
Thank you, Sam.
Sure.
All right. All righty. So I think we're good for that next meeting. We'll keep everyone in touch. I guess, Betsy, if we can reserve both a room and, you know, a virtual room, just in case.
Okay.
That'd be ideal. And before we adjourn, I want to say, Betsy, you did an amazing job running the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you,
This is my
Betsy.
first
timer,
one
like-
ever.
You ran it like a pro.
Oh,
Well
thank
done.
you. Thank you.
So, and thanks for stepping up and covering for the Jen while she.
Oh,
she's
sure,
doing
of
it.
course.
Much appreciated. So if there's nothing else, is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second,
Great. All those in favor, Mark,
yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
and David,
Yes.
and Andrew is a yes.
Perfect.
Thanks everyone for attending. Appreciate it.
All right.
And Freddie, thank you for all your work on getting the presentation updated. Much appreciated.
Nicely done, Freddie. Thank you.
Thank you. Great
Yeah,
job.
thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
See
Good
you
night.
soon.
Night all.
Bye.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Night, John Boy.
Okay, and ta-da, end.